I want to thank you for tuning in to GBAR Conversations. I'm Melvin A. Vieira Jr., your president for 2022, and I also want to say we're going to be talking about some real crazy things that are happening in the real estate market. And the crazy thing about it is the new condo regulations that are getting ready to, or actually I shouldn't say getting ready to, they've already taken effect in this crazy world of real estate. And you know, I want to introduce you to some of the guests that I have that are experts in this business and understand and are here to explain to you what's going on. First, I want to introduce you to Mr. Mark Canner, attorney at law. Thank you very much for showing up. Also, I want to introduce you to Mr. Rick Betancourt, our area sales manager for Caliber Home Loans. You know, we're going to talk about this, but I want you guys to tell me about this, why we started this, what brought this all about, what brings you here today to tell us and tell the GBAR audience and other people about this.
Thank you so much, Melvin, and really glad to be here today as part of the GBAR conversation and welcome the opportunity to talk about this new Fannie Mae underwriting guideline. So just as background, on January 1st, 2022, Fannie Mae updated its condo questionnaire for buildings with 5 or more units. The condo questionnaires are much more detailed now, and they go into detail about condo project structure and maintenance and history. And the upshot is, if a form is not completed correctly or the condo questionnaire does not pass lender underwriting review, then the condominium is not warrantable. And how that plays out is the buyer cannot obtain conventional financing and will have to get a portfolio loan.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty significant. Freddie Mac followed suit on Fannie Mae's decision to implement these new condo regulations. Fannie Mae was effective 1/1/2022, and Freddie Mac went in 2/28/2022. And the two new forms that we as lenders are required to look at now, they're addendums. Fannie Mae's addendum is 1076A, Freddie Mac's is 476A. So what we lenders have done is combine those into one large condo questionnaire that we are now handing out to our realtors and our condo associations to have answered in its entirety. And as Mark said, unfortunately, if an association or a management company refuses to answer that condo questionnaire, there'll be no conventional financing for that individual applicant. So it's tough.
So you just said if they refuse to answer that questionnaire, so if they don't answer that questionnaire, where does it go to then?
There's a lot of different lending conduits these days. So certainly one of the newest ones is non-qualified mortgage, or what other people refer to as portfolio. So if the condo questionnaire is not completed and the condo is not considered a warrantable condo, it becomes a non-warrantable condo. And as Mark and I can attest to, because we both had similar situations recently where we almost had that problem, a non-warrantable condo will not be financed by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, and then you got to go to your portfolio non-qualified mortgage lender.
And Mark, I'd love to hear your take on that as well.
So what brought me to this issue was I had a closing in January. It was a 90-unit building in Watertown, and I represented the seller. And the buyer's lender introduced this new condo questionnaire, and the management company refused to fill out the condo questionnaire. So the deal was imperiled. Ultimately, because of a loophole, the Freddie Mac guideline had not gone into effect at that point in January. The lender was able to switch the buyer over to a Freddie Mac product, and we were able to close. But if that happened today, we would be held up, and we would not be able to close.
And I had the exact same experience. So Mark and I have never really met until today, and we just shared a similar story. I had the exact same thing happen to me in January on a property up in Haverhill. And had we not switched it to a Freddie Mac securitization, we wouldn't have been able to close the loan. So it's, ironically, we both experienced this new change.
But you just said Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. Can you give me I understand, but for the typical audience who may be watching this, may not understand the two.
They are essentially our two large government-sponsored entities which buy the vast majority of the mortgage-backed securities, which is a home loan, right? You close one loan, it goes into a big pool of $100 million worth of loans, and then Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae will purchase those loans off the lender. So they are right now in conservatorship, and they're overseen by the FHFA, which is a Federal Housing Finance Association Authority. and they saw the immediate impact of that tragic collapse in Florida back in June and decided to change the condominium criteria pretty substantially.
That's right. And how it impacts the local lending is that if a loan is Fannie Mae backed, then a buyer can obtain conventional financing. And that's where they get their preferred terms. So that carries the lower interest rate.
Okay.
If you cannot obtain conventional financing and you have a non-mortgageable condo in which a portfolio loan is needed, then the financing, the cost to the buyers is much greater.
much
So
greater,
you're
yes.
looking at an adjustable rate note. You're looking at, so obviously a shorter term, a higher interest rate. So it ultimately impacts the buyer's financing tremendously.
Mark, that really brings me to my next question. Are there any properties exempt from the new regulations? And believe me, Rick, if you have to jump in, please, but I'd let you know,
it's-
because
yeah.
being the attorney, I'd love to hear what he has to say from his point of view, because he's seen a few.
So the new condominium guidelines apply to all condominium units with 5 or more units. So if it's under that 5 threshold, then it does not have application.
Under the 5 threshold. Okay.
So like in Boston, we're notorious in our area for many multifamily conversions, 2 to 4 unit condos that have been 2 to 4 unit multifamilies converted to condos.
Right.
Those are exempt. Also, not that it's very common here in Massachusetts inside the 128, 495 belt, but you do see in some of the more rural communities, southern New Hampshire, detached condos, so single family, freestanding units that are in a condo association, those that they're not sharing a common wall, those are exempt as well.
But if they are sharing a common wall,
Doesn't matter. Now that's part of the regulation oversight.
can you repeat that so people can understand what you mean? Because you just said condo association that sing around freestanding stand homes that are not attached are exempt, but townhomes that may be exempt. And I think you gave me an example earlier or something,
Yeah.
not in this conversation, but
No, yeah, we were talking earlier. So we had the issue that Mark had this really 2 good examples. Mark was how many stories was your building? It was 70 units?
90 units.
90 units.
So-
My issue that I had for my property was 50 units, but 25 buildings with 2 units attached by a common wall, right? So 2 units in each building, but they all were not connected. So that's the thing. It was only 2 units connected, then 2 more units connected. So independent freestanding structures, but it still came under the oversight of that regulation because the 25 buildings that had 2 units, they shared a common wall.
So you're saying you had to make some changes, but do you think that the regulations need to be looked at and reviewed a little bit more than what they are now? Do you think they just did a broad brush and didn't really look at the different parts of the market and the different types of condos that exist in today's, especially, in today's world?
Yes, absolutely, and that's a really good point. So these condo guidelines are a result of the tragic condominium collapse in Surfside, Florida that happened last fall. And the Florida condo market, specifically the Miami condo market, is very unique. There's unique environmental issues, unique building issues. The Miami Beach is built on a swamp. The properties are right on the ocean, so you're dealing with the sea, the salt, the wind. So those condominiums are obviously have greater structural issues. So some of the issues that we're facing up here are not related, of course, to those condominium issues in Florida.
I think it's also important to note too, these regulations are temporary. So this isn't permanent just yet. So this is temporary which you bring up a very, very good point. We're notorious in this industry for broad brush stroking regulation. When we see something bad, like I said, it happened in Dodd-Frank, it happened with TRID, it happened in loan originator compensation, and it happened here. So, Mark and I were talking earlier, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac will be reviewing these regulations over the next couple months, 2-3 months. We do expect there to be some changes, hopefully what I would call some relief or carve-outs of specific types of properties, so that we don't have to go through the experiences that Mark and I have gone through and other associations or other buyers have gone through when it comes to trying to purchase a condominium.
And Melvin, a lot of the larger associations have their own legal counsel.
Correct.
and they have them on retainer. And a lot of these legal counsel for the association are advising the management companies not to complete the condo questionnaire supplemental forms. They believe that those forms are overly broad, can lead to liability, or maybe are too vague in the questions. So that creates a lot of issues. They are requiring hold harmless agreements, so they're requiring that buyers and sellers sign off and indemnify the association before they provide answers as well.
So I just want to clarify, when you say associations, you're saying condo associations.
Correct.
Correct. So this brings me to another question. Being that we're having this issue now, and there are different industries or lenders who have underwriters all over the place, and they're not centralized. And each town and each city and each state municipality has something different going on. Do you see this to be a real big issue for that fact that, because if you're not, I'm not saying it to be specific, but if you don't know that area, do you think it can cause a problem and really hold up the loan or hold up a deal?
Sure, 100%. I mean, we've seen it, both Mark and I have been in the business a long time, over 20 years, and we've seen it numerous times where you have sort of a lender not really specialized in that particular transaction, and certainly not understand the geographic area and the types of properties. So I would certainly recommend that if you're a real estate professional watching this show, that if you're working with a condo situation, you're going to want to vet that lender out to make sure that they have the experience, the knowledge geographically, and transactionally, so that way you mitigate any issues that might come up in the beginning.
That's right. And ultimately, if the condominium is not warrantable, that's going to affect and impact the marketability of of the condominium units being sold.
Wow. So you're saying there's going to be a lot of training, education going on
100%.
throughout the industry as a whole. That's you've brought up some really good points there. How long do you think these guidelines will remain in effect?
Generally, just recently, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac passed a change to sort of the investment property requirements, rates, overlays. That got a lot of blowback very quickly. They changed that within 60 days, almost 90 days, 2-3 months.
Wow.
So this broad brush, which was a great analogy, I'm thinking maybe 6 months. It's changed, or at least clarified in some way, shape, or form. But when we were talking earlier today, I don't think a lot of our professionals are feeling the impact of this, because low inventory, transactions are down. We're below sort of the industry year over year. So as we pick up into the spring market, more transactions, I think you're going to start hearing from your members some pains from this. Wouldn't you agree?
I do. And this is something that an agent should get out in front of. You don't want to find out mid-transaction that you have this issue.
Correct.
So if you're a listing agent, once the seller signs off and you have your listing contract, you should reach out to the management company and find out if they are going to sign the standard Fannie Mae condo questionnaire form. If you're a buyer's agent and your client's considering waiving their mortgage financing, you definitely want to build a contingency into the offer that the sale is subject to condominium questionnaire approval and Fannie Mae underwriting approval.
It's funny you did that, 'cause that was one of my questions. You kind of answered, you beat me to it. This is great to have great synergy amongst us.
You got an attorney here. It was just that's awesome.
I love that. I love that. So the question is, and you've already kind of answered it, but myself and my other real estate professionals, is there any other key advice or anything else besides what you've just kind of went over and told us from both of you all that you would also do in prep work? Is there a place that they can possibly go and grab some information so they can prep themselves beforehand that you may know of? Is there some literature that they can go grab from somewhere?
Well, certainly, I mean, if they knew how to navigate the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac websites, they have all the circulars or the mortgagee letters out there for that. whoever their preferred lender is, reach out to that individual and say, hey, give me your questionnaire up front, et cetera, et cetera. If you're a listing agent, I would certainly recommend, to what Mark's point is, an initial conversation with the management company. Have the association name in every single listing. That, for me, would be one as a sort of boots on the ground type of loan originator.
Can you repeat, or can you say why you would put every association's name in there? Is there a reason why?
Yeah, so that specific, your specific listing, find out the association name. It's on the master deed. It says right at the top, right? And when you list your property, put that association name in there. We lenders, and through our attorney partners, we can do a search through either Fannie Mae's website, Freddie Mac's website, FHA, VA, and determine if it's already been approved, okay? If we've already approved that condo for financing. Sometimes I lean on our attorney partners to get some of the documentation that I might not be able to find. Maybe a listing agent doesn't have the docs, and then Mark's team can go get their stuff.
Right. And of course, that's a pain point in the transaction. The management companies aren't always cooperative.
No.
The guidelines, though, they essentially go after, they're looking for, and they're drilling down on the association and condominium project safety, their soundness, their structural integrity, the habitability of that project. So the condo association, the management company, should have records of repairs. They should keep minutes. There should be engineer reports if applicable, reserve studies if applicable, a list of necessary repairs. Also, all the legal filings should be in order. There should be a copy of the certificate of occupancy. In Boston, if there's fire escapes, there should be a record of certification of those fire escapes. So there are proactive steps that can be taken, and it's important, again, for the listing agent, after they get the listing and before they even go live, to start to reach out to the management company to confirm that they keep these items in their files and that they'll be able to complete the condo questionnaire.
So hold on, you just said fire escapes. Mm-hmm. So the fire department doesn't check out the fire escapes?
In Boston, the fire department has to certify the fire escapes every few years. So you should make sure that there is a certificate on file with the fire department. And if there is not, then a listing agent should make arrangements for a fire department inspection.
Yep.
Okay, so they gotta, so what this whole thing is don't assume. This whole thing is about you asking the appropriate questions to the right people to make sure you get the right answers, to keep yourself out of trouble, you know? So if you don't know, just ask. So I'm glad that we're having this conversation, and how can you as lenders, as attorneys, and the real estate profession to work better to help our customers out?
Sure.
And if you had any like final words or thoughts or anything, or if you felt we missed something in this conversation right now, I want you to bring that to light, because that could spawn some more different conversation. So if I could ask, you know, Rick, you start first,
Sure.
then Mark, and then we'll come back.
I mean, one thing that we saw when TRID was implemented in 2012 was the immediate increase in the requirement of conversation between the listing agent, the buyer's agent, the lender. It was so important because of the way the new CD and loan estimates changed. This is the same thing. This requires a greater degree of conversation with the listing agent, the buyer's agent, the customers, the lender, and the attorneys. What I would tell you as a real estate professional, you know, do all of your due diligence. Ask the questions to your seller. Get the contact information for the HOA. If you've worked with that HOA before and you have a good rapport, let us know that you have a good rapport. Reach out to our attorneys that's involved in the process. Try to collect as much of the documentation that we as lenders are going to require to submit to our underwriting team to approve the condo. We have a specific division at our company that all they do is underwrite condos all day long. That's it, because of our size. So the quicker that I can get all that information to my underwriting division, the faster I can get an answer to our borrower, who can then sign a purchase and sales agreement that's been reviewed by Mark, and then we can move forward in this transaction either with a conventional form of financing or non-conventional form of financing. So it's very important to pick up the phone and say, hey, Mr. Lender, I've got this, what else are you gonna need? And we can push that out to that individual. Yep.
Mark.
So it's critical that agents are proactive in this process, and they reach out to the management companies ahead of time. They have the proper contingencies to protect their buyers. Also, the lending side is critical. So I think it's very important that the realtor recommends local lenders that have a sense of these issues, that understand Massachusetts condominium lending. If you have a lender that's not communicating and can't respond to queries about why the CQ, why the condo questionnaire is causing issues and delaying financing, it's really going to negatively impact a deal. So it's critical that you have a knowledgeable local lender that can answer questions and help shepherd you through this process.
Mark, do you know how when you're doing the purchase and sales agreement, do you have some questions that you kind of pass on to the other attorney to ask some questions? I mean, do you have that? And and can you give me examples of what some of those questions are?
Sure. So we have a stock template which we send out pre-P&S to the management company, which sometimes they answer, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they will just say, wait until the condo questionnaire is issued, and by the way, send us a check for $200. But I would say at least half the time we get answers. So we want to find out, we want a copy of all the minutes. We want to know if there's any pending or planned special assessments. We want to know if there's a history of repairs, any litigation, any lawsuits. So those are the types of questions that we ask in advance. And the CQ asks a lot of the same questions. So we can get out ahead of that information and then at least have a strategy on the condominium questionnaire to deal with these issues so the financing can go through.
So you're preempting things before it actually happens.
Correct. The key is to gather the information ahead of time.
Yeah, pertaining to what Mark just mentioned about the condo questionnaires, where we as lenders expect to run into problems is we have a lot of management companies that have put their condo questionnaires up online. So for years, they would never answer a lender condo questionnaire. They created their own, right? That is no longer going to be an applicable option. So if a condo association says, go online and download after you pay, whatever, right, X, and use our condo questionnaire, that's where we're expecting the biggest pushback, is that we cannot use that condo questionnaire because the likelihood that that condo questionnaire has the specific verbiage that Mark and I are referencing today is, we're thinking right now at this point, very slim to none. So this standard formatted condo questionnaire that you download, the listing agent might do it, the buyer's agent might do it. We can't use that because it doesn't have the deferred maintenance, special assessment verbiage or questions that's in there. So that's, I think Mark and I were talking earlier, we're expecting problems there. That's what we're thinking.
So this is a really good question, and we're going to wrap it up here in a second, is there one set standard form that the lenders, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, are using and all the rest of them? Is there one basic form that all looks the same now?
Yes.
Yeah, so what we lenders, most lenders do, I shouldn't say to everybody, we at Caliber took the verbiage that the addendums that I mentioned earlier, 1076A for Fannie Mae and 476A for Freddie Mac. We took the verbiage, it's the same verbiage essentially in both forms, and we put it into our standardized condo association questionnaire. So it's just one big one now that we have, and that's what we use.
That's right. And that's available on the Fannie Mae website. And I actually posted it on my website as well.
On your website?
Yes.
Yeah, the verbiage, the questions that they're asking, we took that and put it into our condo questionnaire. Mark was smart enough to just put it on his Facebook. So there's more questions besides that, but that's the new questions pertaining to the deferred maintenance in this regulation.
So Mark, you have it on yours. So what's your website, just in case?
Sure, it's cannerlaw.com, CANNERLAW.com.
Appreciate that. And also, Mark, you say you have something as well. And
yeah, we're actually going to be we just had a little presentation today, and I'm going to be emailing Elise our condo questionnaire so she can send out to the whoever,
So you can just look at it.
which has all the specific sections that pertains to this.
Good, good. And I know that we will be also posting those links of the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac websites as well on this video as well, so you can go ahead and refer back to that. And as much information that we do have, we will continue to post it onto our GBAR website, as well as our GBAR Facebook and our Instagram page. And we'll be doing a lot of different things. Before I wrap this up, I want to see, is there anything else that I left out there that you guys may want to speak about, talk about? Is there anything that I might have forgot?
No, you actually did a great job, Melvin, asking some pretty awesome questions, man. I mean, I would simply say, from the lender's side, I think patience is an important part of this process as we sort of work through these changes. It is very painful. Our condo teams are telling us it's painful. So try to be a good communicator. Let us know where you're having difficulty as far as with the management company, and just work together as a team. I mean, for the betterment of the seller and our buyer and everybody involved.
So, Mark, go ahead.
I second that, Melvin. I thought your presentation today was terrific.
Thank you.
So no one wants to see in the middle of the busy spring market a deal go south.
Correct.
Especially midstream. So it's critical that everybody gets out in front of this and it has to be proactive.
So as you say, spring market, this is probably going to go into the summer market, to the fall market,
yeah.
and throughout. So
Exactly.
I want to thank every single one of you all for tuning in to the GBAR Conversations. This will be an ongoing event that we'll be doing, and they'll be posted on our website, as you know where to find them. And thank you to my guests for showing up.
Very welcome.
You're welcome.